Hello, thanks for checking out another video. Today I'll be talking about Cebo Campbell's Sky Full of Elephants. Now, this is a book with a really interesting apocalyptic premise and also with a very split reviews on Goodreads that when I saw it on the recommendation list for new books of the fall, must read books, I think it was a New York Times article. But then when I checked out the Goodreads to validate it, I kind of saw why it was so divisive that I had to give it a shot. And my quick thoughts on it would be that it's probably a 3.5 out of 5. It's not a book that was written for white people, which is what I saw in one of the Goodreads reviews of it. The book celebrates the Black experience and it talks about the struggles of Black people in America specifically. So as a white person reading the book, it does give you a glimpse of what that's like and what Black people are going through in this day and age, using this metaphor of what if. So the premise of the book is the what if suddenly half the world dies, basically. So suddenly all white people hear a calling and they walk into the nearest body of water, leaving the entire world just in the hands of Black people. So we're given glimpses of what society would look like without white people, which stereotypically run the world. So how does the world adapt and keep moving with only Black people in charge? And Campbell's premise is that it turns into utopia, which again, maybe this is where I disagree a little bit. And this is speculative fiction, so there is a suspension of disbelief, but it's hard to believe that it would all go, super smoothly. We see them, basically the story is also a road trip where the main character, he finds his daughter who happens to be biracial, and then himself as a previously incarcerated Black man for, again, this may be a spoiler, that a crime he didn't commit, but was locked up in the system because of inherent racism. So we learn about his story and then his daughter's story of coming to terms with her Blackness because she is biracial and then raised by her mother in a white family. And then she watches her mother drown herself. And so now she has to come to terms with living in a world, a society without white people ruled by Black people. And again, as I was mentioning, where there is some suspension of disbelief, they go on a road trip. And for example, they go to the airport, which is a utopia, that there's no infighting. Everyone is sort of working for the good of all society. There's really been no, factions that develops to fill the power vacuum, which I think might happen in any culture. It happened in Zootopia where it's animals in the movie. But so what happens here is for example, the pilots fly just for the fun of flying. So it is a very utopian, and the twist is we do know that they can't go to Alabama because there is a dictator there. But when our characters arrive there, there is a dictator, but he's ruling Mobile because he's turning into utopia. And as we get into the more speculative fiction aspects through the second half and the final, the finale of the book, it turns out that he made a device that basically caused the blackouts, or the white, maybe called the whiteouts, in the sense that he caused all white people to kill themselves because he was trying to heal Black trauma. So throughout the book, again, the main themes are the main character, as we follow him, come to terms with this world he's living in now, this kind of Black utopia, and then the daughter, she's meeting her culture mates in other parts of the country and embracing her Blackness. They are embracing different aspects of Black culture, such as Mardi Gras. So this is another, again, suspension of disbelief in the sense of what makes someone Black. How much do you need? And so we are given that, there's not a specific number, because we're introduced to a character, for example, that passes as white, but actually had Black in them. So then they were spared through the apocalypse. But, how many generations does this go back? How, deep does it go? Or does the fact that we all descend from Africa have any play in this? But so it deals with a lot of, in general, Black society and Black culture and celebrating Black culture and coming to terms with Black culture. So again, as from a outsider, as a white person reading this book, it did give me more appreciation of Black culture and the richness of Black culture. All this is grounded in sort of fact based, but a little bit of fiction. For example, this device that he creates, that the warlord creates, it's based on historical, ideas of kind of the Tesla energy out of the atmosphere, and how early cultures, specifically black cultures, were able to harness these more natural forces in the world. And what if there is kind of more to that? And if we explore that, would we unlock some kind of secret, and would we heal the generational trauma, basically? So again, an interesting story that made me uncomfortable a lot of times, because we do see that in generational trauma, what has been done to black people across cultures, how they've been taken away. And now that we're in a world without white people, without oppression, how it's flourishing. So overall, it was an interesting read. I would, again, dig in a little bit, because while the premise was interesting, post-apocalyptic, there were a lot of the suspension moments that did take me out of the story a bit, such as the total utopia, when there would be probably a resource war for like jet fuel and gas. That is not that big of a deal, that we're operating airports and giving out free food without really any monetary system. So it's something like that, where you can just kind of go with the flow. Yes, it's fiction, and it's more character driven. We are more learning about the characters and cultures. So, while not my cup of tea in general, and some of this, fiction, but not fiction, speculative fiction. I'm a big fan of fantasy, so I do suspend my disbelief a lot, but some of these just didn't quite jive with me. That's why I'd knock it a little bit, but still an interesting read. And I think I would recommend it to people to read, to understand, such as racial identity, biracial identity, growing up in mixed cultures, understanding the Black experience in America, and what that would look like in a world without white people, totally run by Black people. So there's my review of Cebo Campbell's Sky Full of Elephants, 3.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.